Hey everyone, great to be here. I guess we are doing a Twitter space after a long time. All of us have been busy building. Speaking of building, like Hashstack is one of the OG team Starknet ecosystem who have been building silently so far and recently launched their product. So we are going to talk about what is Hashstack, what problems do they solve, what has been their journey. Before we go into all of that, maybe like I can ask a quick intro from everyone. Like maybe you can introduce yourself in 30 seconds. Starting with Guru, can you just introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Gaurav. I'm the community growth associate at Hashstack and take care of social media, community, and the growth campaigns. And that's me. And I'm very glad to be here in the spaces. Thank you so much, Rohit and Colin, for hosting us.
Mark, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for hosting us. I'm Mark. I'm a developer at Hashstack. Mostly anything to do with the contracts, I work on it basically. And yeah, happy to be here.
Amazing. And Colin, maybe you can introduce yourself as well.
Sure. I'm Colin with jediswap, one of the core contributors on mainly the business development and partnership side. We are interacting with all the Starknet projects and seeing how we can work together, basically. And actually my day job, I spend a lot of time in DeFi as well, which is why I'm excited to discuss Hashstack, because it's actually a cool product people can use for yield strategies.
Amazing. And quick introduction about me, Rohit here. I also wear multiple hats at jediswap, majorly on the community side, on the business side, product building side. So like before we go deeper into like all the conversations today, like maybe it will be great to just have a quick introduction about Hashstack. So Guru, Mark, feel free to take a lead. Tell us like what is Hashstack?
Yeah, sure. So at Hashstack, we are building the open protocol on Starknet, which is the ZKL2 on Ethereum. So with open, you can borrow up to 5x the loan on your collateral. So we are essentially an under-collateralized a lending protocol. Yeah, and through us, so yeah, by meaning 5x, I mean like even if you have $100, you can get up to $500 where you can spend across various other tabs. Right now, we have integrated jediswap and MySwap in our application, and soon enough, we are having more integrations added. So with this debt, you can either become a liquidity provider in one of either jediswap or MySwap's pools, and as well as swap your assets to any other token. We support 5 major tokens, which is BTC, ETH, USDC, USDT, and DAI. Yeah, Mark, would you like to add something?
Yeah, just from the development side, we've gone through multiple iterations because the problem we were trying to solve was kind of unique. So we tried and tested a number of methods, and today we have reached somewhere where we are happy with the product. Yeah, thank you.
So just to understand a bit more, like you mentioned, it's a under-collateralized lending platform. Like how it works, can you like give a parallel compared to like, let's say Aave, Compound, or even like lending borrowing protocols on Starknet, like Weekend or Nostra? Like what's the difference?
So the protocols that you have given as an example, they are mostly over-collateralized. So you have a portfolio that acts as a collateral, and you can basically borrow up till whatever your borrowing factor is, and it's usually around, let's say, 70%ish, or depending on how volatile the asset is. What we do is we allow you to borrow with the less amount, which is under collateralized lending. With the less amount, we allow you to borrow more, which is we allow you to borrow, let's say, maximum up to 5x. The 5x is also something we tune. We realized that earlier we were allowing 10x the loans, which was very risky. So we tuned it down to, let's say, 5x. It is basically tackling a different set of use cases, which is not possible with the traditional ones, which Aave and Compound already offer. yeah, Ayushman, if you want to explain some uses of the application.
Yeah. So in generally, what retail traders do is that if they don't have any funds, more funds to actually take a loan, right? Because here, let's say in jediswap, in Avia Compound or even Zclin or Nostra Finance. So what they do is they work in over collateralized lending, which is like the traditional banking, right? So let's say if I want to take a loan of 1 million, then I need to give at least more than 1 million to take a loan of 1 million, right? But here at Hashstack, let's say if I want to take a loan of 1 million, then I can just give up to $250K as collateral rather than giving 1.1 or 1.2 million, let's say, for example, right? So that's one of the use cases which we have, that we will give you more loans as compared to others. And second thing would be that the borrowed assets, they cannot be withdrawn from the platform, but you have the right to do anything with it with respect to either using it as a liquidity, using it in liquidity pool by becoming a liquidity provider in either in jediswap's let's say liquidity pool, or you can also swap it with any other asset. So it's like a longing on tokens. Yeah. So those are the three major use cases which we have.
So just to like ask a follow-up question on that, like, doesn't it have any kind of security risk? Like, can I just deposit $100 worth of collateral, take $500 worth of loan from Hashstack and just run away? Like, can I do that?
No, you would not be able to do that, because we allow spending through the dApp itself. The money still stays with us, and we also monitor all the health of the loans at each moment individually. And if there are certain thresholds set, and if we feel that the health of a loan is going down, it would be very risky, because we would not be able to pay back the suppliers. So there is a certain threshold, which is our safety, this thing. If it goes below that, we have to step in and liquidate the loans to ensure that suppliers get their money back. So we tackle risk in a number of ways. This is one of those.
Actually, two related follow-up questions on the risk and security side. So how do you handle liquidations? Do you have external parties which run bots to make sure everything is liquidated quickly? Because if you wait too long, then you might pass through the whole threshold and still have a loss on the principal, basically, or a loss on the lenders. And the second part is, so right now you said it's integrated with jediswap and MySwap, which of course are two of the very large and established DEXs. But let's say you would integrate with some other protocol which maybe is perceived as more risky. So how does it work to add a new protocol to your platform? Do you, what sort of due diligence or criteria do they need to fulfill to be part of your infrastructure?
So like you mentioned, we do have a lot of bots running, and we have basically an off-chain engine which completely handles the whole liquidations when needed. It monitors, and we've thankfully not had to liquidate a loan yet. There are, I think, roughly 350 loans active at this moment, and all of them are healthy.
But could anyone become a liquidator? Sorry, just jumping in before the other question again. But do you run the liquidations only yourself, or is there also other parties that could do this without your?
The liquidations are open to the users as well. I think there is some criteria which we have added, where we just want the users to have interacted with the protocol a certain amount in terms of supplies, and if they hold a certain number of supplies, they can do liquidations. But I think those checks are very from this thing. You could just take a flash run and do a liquidation if you wanted. So this not really that easy to. It's not that hard to go around that. But still, it's just like So we do have dual liquidation. Users can also do it, and we also step in. So when we step in is slightly lesser. That is, our liquidation threshold is roughly 1.06 when the protocol steps in. And for the users, they can actually do it at 1.09. So we give them a buffer, and if no one is doing it, then we step in. That's how we handle that.
So just do you have can you like go a bit more into, like, you mentioned that the debt stays with you and it could be utilized in specific apps. So like is it like a walled garden? And if it is, like what all kind of activities can I use my loan in? And are there any scenarios in which I can take some portion of this loan out of Hashstack app?
So at the moment, when we had our earlier version, we were allowing users to withdraw the loan. And the thing we realized is that the ratio of collateralization can actually go down or go up a lot. So basically, it wouldn't be like a 5x ratio. It could actually go up to 10x. So the risk that was associated with allowing to withdraw was significantly higher. And so with the current version of the product, we're still experimenting. We want to allow in the future for the users to be able to withdraw. But it is something we are going to trial and tweak a bit after we are currently happy with this, but this is something we're going to trial and work on. And at the moment, we support as external integrations dApps that we have vetted ourselves, that we trust. And we also want to make it a more decentralized approach in the future. So we could end up going the route of a DAO where people can vote on it. But the thing is that it's the people you allow to vote on it, it's not necessary that they are able to vet the dApp in the manner that we would want it. So ideally, we would still be making sure that the risks that we take on as a protocol have been vetted by us or audited by us, for example. So if somebody wants to propose an addition of an integration later, they are free to do so, but we would still be making sure that there's no risk involved when it is integrated into our system as a whole.
I see. So can you describe how it happens from technical perspective? Like you mentioned, you are integrated with jediswap and MySwap. Can you walk us through the user journey, like how it all happens?
So for the users, they interact with us only. We have something called R tokens. They can do some supplies and we give them the R tokens in return. They can use them for the loan, or they can borrow with the underlying assets as well. And after they hold when they borrow, we give them something called D tokens. We use this to track this is very similar to traditional methods. So we just use it to track the loan amount that they need to pay back. After they have taken a loan, they can they can swap that loan. They can choose a dApp, let's say MySwap. And let's say they want to swap it to another market, then they can swap it to another market. On MySwap, we have whitelisted certain pools. If they want, they can also choose that I want to add liquidity to this pool. And so the interim swaps required to add liquidity to that pool, because it's in one market, so it would have to be split into the two, is handled by us. So we take care of everything that would be required, and then it is added to the pool as liquidity. At the moment, these are the two actions, which is swapping and add liquidity. We also wanted to support staking, so that is something we're looking to do down the line. And we'll continue to evolve and keep adding integrations as more and more use cases come forward.
And why do you need these two different type of tokens, R tokens and D tokens? Like, can you just help me understand the concept of R tokens and D tokens a little bit more?
Yeah. In the earlier version, we were using a record system, and we realized it was quite clunky to maintain, and also maybe possibly not a good DevX and a good UX. So this is something that we borrowed from Aave and Compound, let's say. So it becomes very easy for us to track the shares of basically what is owed to a vault. So these R tokens and D tokens actually denote a vault, and they would for the supplier they would denote what amount is their share in the vault, and for the debt this thing, it would denote their debt to the total vault in proportion to the total vault's total supply, basically. So it becomes very easy for us to maintain that, basically. If you're familiar with the Aave C tokens, no, it's Compound C tokens, Aave's A tokens, for example.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting. And I'm curious, did you build the whole vault architecture basically from scratch, or did you base it on something that already existed, like with the R tokens and D tokens? That's a concept that's very widely known. I'm just curious on sort of what template inspires the vault infrastructure or architecture.
So the base template for this vault is the 4626 standard, but it is heavily modified to suit our purposes. So the core architecture is still there, but it won't resemble it entirely. It will be significantly different because we have to have we have to do add a number of functionality, and also ensure that everything is taking place within the risk limits, for example. So there's a number of checks there as well. So it's not entirely the 4626, but the base architecture is the 4626. If you're familiar with that, it's the tokenized vault standard.
Yeah. Okay, that's really cool. And in terms of upcoming integrations, is there anything already on the roadmap for other dApps which you would add as basically whitelisted that users of Hashstack can deploy their borrowed amounts into other dApps as well?
I think the next step we are looking at is trying to integrate concentrated liquidity, although it is similar to swapping and adding liquidity, but it is a requested feature from the users. So we'll be looking into adding those. So meaning Ecobo, I think jediswap is working on a concentrated liquidity implementation, so that as well. And probably MySwaps, this thing as well. We have, I think, mine options is also a requested one, but I think the risk associated with that is very high, so we have not really decided on that. I think we're slightly limited to the number of options we have, but as the space grows, I think we grow with it, I think.
Guys, just a quick question on that. Like, does using this debt for concentrated liquidity positions compared to like UniV2 style positions, standard LP positions, does it increase any kind of risk? Like, does it changes the risk parameters, liquidation parameters, or the in-depth technical integration at all?
I think there could be some change required in terms of the technical architecture itself, but from a risk perspective, at least from my initial scoping, I think it is safer. And there are some things which could be interesting to do, which is if the price falls out of range, for example, then you could actually have it supplied to something externally. I'm still scoping it out, but from my understanding, I think the risk actually drops.
Colin, did you have a question? Sorry, I cut you off.
No worries. Actually, just want to say it might be a good opportunity also to briefly just highlight our plan for the concentrated liquidity, because that's upcoming. I thought maybe you could say a few words on that, Rohit.
Yeah, sure. So, first of all, like, thanks, Mark, for mentioning the concentrated liquidity. I think it's an important feature to bring price efficiency. jediswap, in fact, already deployed concentrated liquidity contracts on testnet. We are still testing it internally, but we will soon be announcing the testnet to the public, probably next week. Most likely, yes, within next week. And would be interesting to see like how people actually use Hashstack on concentrated liquidity. So on that, like, I remember like you when I was talking to Guru, he mentioned some numbers to me, like where are you seeing the use cases today of these loans? Guru mentioned some percentages, like where all these loans are going as the LP capital. So can you, maybe Guru, you can highlight those numbers, like where people are using, how people are using under-collateralized loans today, and give some numbers.
Yes, of course. So 70% of the borrowed debt, like, we have around 500 to K TVL right now, right? And out of which around 66% is the asset utilization. So around 70% of all the borrowed debt, right, is deployed on jediswap, or it is used or swapped with jediswap's functionality, right? So that's something which we are incredibly surprised, people actually have been using a lot, and especially jediswap. One of the ways through which it could be there are some good arbitraging opportunities which they are finding. Let's say the LP pool percentage which you get is a double digit, and here in Hashstack we are offering borrow APR at single digit. So people are kind of exploiting that in a good sense of exploiting, not the bad sense. But yeah, that's what we have observed so far. And apart from that, we have been having a constant utilization rate of above 55% to 66%, with average APR for supply being around 2% to 3%, and borrow APR being around it's fluctuating depending on depending on use cases and all. But in general, we have only a single digit so far, except for maybe 2 to 3 days back when there was a lot of massive pump and down which was happening. And total accounts which have interacted so far is 713, and we have crossed 10.5k total transactions which have happened on the platform itself.
Thanks for sharing those numbers. So while you mentioned 70% of this asset borrowing is going to jediswap, I guess you meant jediswap liquidity pools. What was it specifically, liquidity pools?
It's both of liquidity pools as well as swapping on jediswap.
Okay, so it's the process I, as a user, I come, let's say, with one ETH, assuming let's say $2,000 is the price. For that one ETH, I can basically take $10,000 worth of loans. So when I take the loan, do I decide these are the assets I want to borrow?
Yeah, so when you come to a platform, let's say you have one ETH, as you have said, and you can borrow up to 5x of ETH's amount at that time, right? So if it's 2,000, you can borrow up to 10,000 USD in value, right? So that could be either 10,000 USDC or USDT or DAI, or even BTC in that required amount. And then have the option to either swap. Let's say you deposit, you supply ETH, and then you take up let's say USDT. Right now you have two options from here. You can either swap this to, let's say, BTC, so that if BTC's value goes up, then your borrowed asset, right, that accumulates more profit. So that you can do it via the jediswap or MySwap, right? And a second thing is you can do a liquidity provision to jediswap's liquidity pool, right? So we have around 6 pools through which you can spend your borrow, right? So yeah, okay, no, there are more than 6, my bad. So there are around 8 to 10, and you can also see the pool APRs which are there on our platform, right? So right now we have only one pool which is offering double digit pool APR, which is WETH USDT, but all others are right now offering single digit. So it depends on market to market what the conditions of the market are, and accordingly we sometimes have as far as 20% above pool APR on certain pools. So yeah, those two are the ways through which you can interact with other dApps, which is jediswap or MySwap through Hashstack.
Understood. So just to again be clear, it feels like it doesn't matter which asset I borrow, because let's say I want to add the borrowed asset to a liquidity pool. That can happen using a multi-call or something. So my borrow will still, let's say I came with ETH and I wanted to add liquidity to USDC BTC pair. So I can come with ETH, I can borrow USDT, and then using that USDT, I can deposit into a pool which is USDC and BTC. That happens using multi-call. So my borrowing is still in terms of USDT, while how I'm using that USDT is completely independent. Is that
Yes. So far, let's say, as you gave the example, right? If you have USDT, then you can also select the pool of WBTC or USDC. So that also works because we'll be splitting it under the hood more by Mark on that.
Yeah. So that is correct. But in terms of numbers, it does make a difference, albeit a very slight one. Because if it is, let's say you have a marketing and you're providing to a pool AB, the number of swaps that you would have to go through would be less. So the exposure to slippage would be lesser. So it's just a small thing, but it just makes a slight difference.
Understood. But the liquidation still. So like when now you are doing liquidation, what you are tracking is the LP pool token, its value in USDT, which is the asset I borrowed. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Got it. Good. Colin, do you have any question on this?
Yeah, so just to highlight a bit what could be the risks for a user, because it might seem like a great deal if I can, like Roy just described for the journey, I deposit on Hashstack, I borrow USDT, I deposit into jediswap LP pool, and it shows me that I'm making 22% APR. And it seems like I'm probably making a lot of money, but it could also go the other way, right? If the pool moves substantially to the downside, for example, then maybe I don't have enough USDT value left to repay the full loan. That's where the liquidation comes in. But also, if I close the position before being liquidated, I might end up with less value in USDT, right, that I had before. Or I just wanted to illustrate what could basically go wrong from the user's perspective. So how could I lose money if I do this?
So there are with both the mechanisms, which is swapping. There are different risks associated with swapping and different risks associated with liquidity provisioning. For liquidity provisioning, as we know, there's not really a risk of there's a risk of impermanent loss. And with swapping, if the market you have swapped to with respect to your actual loan, if it depreciates, then you have a rapidly increasing risk of liquidation. If it appreciates, then you are looking at a profit. So that is there. Interestingly, if the market is the same, let's say you provided ETH as collateral and you took a loan of ETH as collateral, they both would appreciate or depreciate in the same manner. I'm talking about the price. So it actually doesn't approach liquidation because your loan is still healthy, because because the ratio remains the same more or less. The ratio of your collateral to loan matters a lot, because if you're holding let's say a 5x, you're taking a 5x loan, then it is quite risky. It's quite risky for liquidation, because initially you would have a, let's say, liquidation threshold of 1.2. That's what we call it, and it gets liquidated at 1.09. I'm just saying some numbers, but not to get anybody confused. So that number for 5x loans, it's risky. For 4x, it'll be less risky, and like for 3x, even less risky. So like that.
Okay, that makes sense. So basically, in summary, I cannot just set and forget. It's not the passive strategy. I need to be aware how the market moves, and I need to maybe adjust or close my position depending on what's happening. But it's a really interesting use case. It's very helpful as a tool also for liquidity providers to use this in addition to instead of just deploying only to jediswap without leverage or without any additional functionality. So I think that's really cool. And also, I just actually, while we are on the call, I made my first deposit into Hashstack right now, so that's also really nice. And Roy, if you have any questions still on the user experience side or user journey, please jump in, because otherwise we can maybe move on to the exciting airdrop part, which I just discovered. So if I deposit, now it tells me I'm earning some points. So maybe that's for the next topic after the user journey.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I am also very keen to hear about that. But just before we move to the hottest topic, maybe Gurul, can you help us understand like who is the user here? What kind of users are you seeing on the platform? Is it institutions? Is it whales? Is it retail? If it is retail, like are you seeing any patterns? Like what kind of people are using under-collateralized lending?
Yes. So we do have whales since we are doing some on-chain tracking. Whales who have deposited, let's say, 15 to 17 ETH, right? We do have those people, but majority we have normal retail traders who, some of which who are, let's say, farmers who farm tokens, right? And also we do have people, generally like normal people who have, let's say, the trading size up to somewhere around $400 to $500. Yeah, so that's the normal average traders which we are having at the moment, through which they are able to take up to 5x, which is $2,500 on a small trading account of $500. So far it is pretty much normal retail traders as well as some whales, right? We do have that, and we don't have any institutional accounts or users as such. Because we are majorly targeting it towards retail traders. Yeah. And any
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm sure the institutions will come sooner or later. So now's maybe a good time to talk about the airdrop campaign. It's a very prominent feature on your dApp. So it's on the top. You can click on airdrop, right? And then it's, there's referrals, there's leaderboard. It looks all very cool. So I would love to learn more about, what's happening behind the scenes there.
Yeah, sure thing. So this campaign of ours started from 27th of November and will be going on for the next 8 weeks, which is till 22nd of January 2024. So this campaign, we have dedicated 0.5% of Hash's total token supply, and total supply of Hash would be 9 billion tokens, right? And we are splitting this 8 weeks into 4 parts, so that each epoch is worth 2 weeks, and which will have an emission rate of 0.1%, right? So for 8 weeks, we have total of 4 epoch, which is each 2 weeks long. And since we already have 45 million worth of 45 million hash tokens, right, for the campaign. So you might be wondering what happened to the 0.1%. So we are having that for milestone based supply, which is, if our TVL reaches 250K, which it already has, so we'll be giving away additional 0.025% of the hash totals supply. And if we reach 1 million in TVL, we'll be giving away 0.025 hash token supply. And at $10 million, we'll be giving away 0.5% of the total hash supply, right? And we do have people, who will just, let's say, supply or borrow, and then maybe in 10 minutes, they'll just revert, back to their account. So in order to have it fair and square for all, we have been taking 6 random snapshots during 2-week period, right? So then it will average all the liquidity which you have bought in, or the referrals, to determine fair reward points per user. So there are 2 ways to earn points. One is through direct liquidity, which is, if you as a user comes on a platform, does a supply or a borrow, you earn points on that. We don't have a daily increase point system, which a lot of users have asked, but we don't have that. And second is through referrals. So we do have point system on that. Let's say you earn 0.1%, like 0.1 a reward point per $1 which is bought in by your referrals, right? So we have that. And apart from that, we do have 999 V1 OG NFT, which we are yet to issue to 3 types of users. One is the core contributor, second is the V1 power users, and the third one is the ecosystem partners, right? And they have additional benefits in the campaign as well would be having in the future campaign. With respect to claiming rewards, so users will be able to claim their hash tokens from the airdrop page upon the public release of the hash token in Q1 2024, and the tokenomics for this will be released very soon. And since we wanted to go ahead with the community, so they'll be able to claim for the next 2 years once we have it available on the airdrop page, right? And apart from that, there are 2 points which you can see on the dashboard, right? One would be the real-time point. The other one would be the snapshot-based point, right? So real-time would give you a real-time, let's say, points based on your actions. It refreshes in 12 hours, while the snapshot would be total points which you'll be earning, which is averaged divided by 6, right? So that's what we have so far. And if you like to access the mainnet at the moment, you can go to hstk.fi/Hashstack and you can directly get access to it, or else you would have to get a referral link, which you can again join on Discord and you'll be able to get it. I hope that is clear. Let me know if you have any questions.
That sounds amazing. I'm already bridging more money to Starknet now. Not kidding, actually. I just submitted the bridge transaction to get more into Hashstack. Rohit, any questions from you on the airdrop side?
Yeah, I just wanted to understand what is the alpha here? Like what will you recommend to people who are listening now, or people who might listen to this space net, or what activity should they try to do to be worthy of Hashstack tokens?
Right. So that's a good question, which again a lot of people ask, and it has a pretty straightforward answer. So when you are supplying, right? Let's say you supply $100, so you'll get 100 points, right? So $1, 1 point. But if you use that supply, right, to borrow tokens instead of staking onto the protocol itself, you'll earn 5x. So with $100 you borrow $500, so you get 500 points, right? So that's how it works on our platform, since we have incentives for both a borrow as well as supply. So it's $1, it's $1.1 sort of thing, right? So we have kept it pretty straightforward that you can bring in your referrals, you'll be earning more points to that. We do have, in top 10 leaderboard, we have people who have spent their own wealth with respect to liquidity, but we do have people who must have spent, let's say, around $5,000 to $10,000 from their side, but they have bought in a lot of referrals through which they have, just scaled up on the leaderboard and are in top 10.
That sounds cool. So just to make sure I get it right, so if you deposit, you shouldn't basically, instead of staking your R tokens, you should borrow against them to get basically more liquidity that you interact with on your system.
Yeah, and supposedly, yeah.
Or does it matter? What happens if I stake the R token?
Now, if you stake your R token, you do have.
What happens?
Yeah, so it's like a coin from the same side, right? So there are plus and minus on the both sides, in the sense that if you stake your R token, you'll earn the supply APR, right, which we have on the platform. Now, that will enable you to get more returns out of your supply. And if you borrow, you'll be able to spend that borrow, or you'll be able to get more points out of your borrow. So it's like positives in both ends.
So I'll just add a bit on that. So we use staking as a method to incentivize users to have some deposits which are not being used as collateral for any borrows. So they are secure deposits in a way. So you get more APR when you stake your asset, roughly 20% more than the normal supply APR. So that is the incentive to stake your asset. And if you have staked it, you cannot use it as a collateral for borrowing. So that is a negative there for staking, basically.
Thanks. I think I was gone for like the past 30 seconds. My connection broke, but no worries. Thanks.
I think any other question, Colin, you have? I think we got it pretty well covered.
Yeah, I would say so. I think we're pretty much done.
Cool. So just before we end, Guru, Mark, like, is there anything you would like to tell listeners, users, like any message you want to give before we end the conversation?
Mark?
Not really. One thing is that I would probably love to hear feedback from the users on how they really like on actual use cases they feel that they can tackle with this thing. We're always in a development stage, so we take our user feedback really seriously and we want to continue improving. So yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Adding on top of that, we are right now working on, the UI changes, UI UX, since we have received feedback on that. So it'd be amazing if you can, join the server, let us know your feedback and thoughts. It could be as critical as you want to be, right? We are always open to good feedbacks through which our UI UX as well as product can improve.
Amazing. Thanks, Guru and Mark. It was great hosting you. I think we learned a lot, and I'm sure Colin is just gathering more tokens to fill his bags for the airdrop. But yeah, I'm excited to check out the product and hopefully on some points as well.
Yes, so sounds great. Thank you so much for hosting us. Really appreciate it. And I hope, Colin, you take back to the moon.
All right, then.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey guys, bye-bye.